Good morning and welcome all of you. We like to begin by giving God the glory for great things He has done. I give God the glory for life, for peace, for everything. We like to say season's greetings to all of you, our people, home and abroad. I want to say thank God for yet another December, Christmas and New Year seasons. We look forward to try as much as we can, individually, collectively as a country, to make the Christmas merry, and as we wish and pray for a happy and prosperous new year to come. I want to give God the glory to say thank you to all of our people, Liberians home and abroad, our supporters, those who did not support us. I want to say thank you to everybody, every one of us, for a peaceful process, largely a peaceful process that has kept our country stable. We are also concerned yet about the result coming out of Nima County, and as well as the violent incident that occurred in Babulu County. We will continue to remain seized of those matters until we can get the logical conclusion. In a democratic process, the will of the people must prevail. I'd like to use this day to say we extend open hand of cooperation with the President of Liberia. To cooperate with the President, to support his positive agenda for the country. As a senator, we will be working under his administration while serving the interests of our people. Any agenda that is constructive, positive for our people, that comes under the executive mansion, will be foot soldiers to ensure that such agenda will be supported and achieved, because it is for our people that will work. So any agenda that betters the life of our people and develops our country, we will support, and we are willing and ready to do so. We want to thank God for our colleagues. Farewell to our outgoing colleagues, and welcome to our incoming colleagues. We look forward to good cooperation and collaboration with our colleagues in the Senate, in particular, and collectively the House of Representatives and the Senate in general, for the common good of our people and our country. In 2021, my legislative agenda will be about the people. We will be seeking reform. If we do not reform the system so that the system can work for our people, every lawmaker will continue to talk about I did this, I built the wall, I constructed this. We want a system that will talk about we, that is system built, that is system constructed, that is system created, that the people benefited from by and through the system. If it is about I, then let's do our private thing. Let's use government resources wisely, build system, use the resources through the system in a structured way that benefits all. regardless of religion, political affiliation, social status, and all of those stuff. I will be particularly in 2021 in collaborating with my colleagues to ensure that our bill for $5,000 maximum for lawmakers will be passed. Will be lobbying heavily to ensure that that bill is passed so that the ceiling for lawmakers monthly income will be $5,000 or less, so that the money can go back to the system, through the system, for the country and the people. Let me emphasize again that if 103 lawmakers taking $5,000 or less will save this country $4 million every year. And if we can get the executive and the judiciary to follow suit, we can save this country about $20 million US every year, and we can put that money back into the system so that the people in the country can benefit. So we'll be seeking to get the consent and approval of our colleagues to see reason in keeping with Article 36 of the Constitution, so we can pass that bill into law so that it can be clear that this is what lawmakers make, and it will show a true demonstration of our service, selfless service to our people, and sacrifice to cut huge chunk of our monthly earnings so that we can put it back in our country and our people. Service to country should be about service to people and country, public service, not rather service to pocket, personal pocket. We'll also be looking at the code of conduct. The code of conduct, at the first entry into government, the code of conduct is the working tool that governs the behavior and conduct of public officials in public office. If we do not reform ourselves, it's difficult to reform others and to reform our system. And in order for us to fight corruption, we got to start to fight corruption from the door so it doesn't enter as much. If we can fight for it not to enter at all, one of the ways is to serve with integrity in government, credibility, discipline, character. We'll be looking at the code of conduct so that it does not target certain people, and it begins to fight against corruption from the very door, the entry. As the code of conduct mandates, it mandates public officials to declare their assets. What is the importance of assets declaration? So that you declare what you had before you enter office. And while you are in office, your acquisitions, your personal acquisitions, can be matched with your legal earnings. And if your acquisitions in office, after declaring what you came into public office with, your acquisitions now in public office will not be matched with your legal earnings. And if what you are acquiring in office cannot match with your legal earnings, then it smells something, and it calls for corruption, for investigation on impropriety. We got to fight this minute so that we can utilize the resources of the country appropriately, judiciously, for our country and our people. So we'll be looking at the code of conduct and seek to amend the provision that talks about asset declaration. We want to amend that portion to include publishing of asset. When you declare your asset, it should not be secret. You should publish your asset for public information. Nobody should be guessing what you declared, what you had, what you did not have. Asset declaration should not be public and should not be secret. You are a public servant, and what you do in public should be public. What you do for the public and how you conduct yourself should be transparent. And so we'll be seeking not only to publish, but want to put in place verification. If you declare something, it should be verified. And if the verification process proves otherwise, that you lied, then it means you have committed perjury. then he should be prosecuted. If I have $10 and an honor declared, and the verification process proved otherwise, I should be prosecuted. And if I over-declared, I should be prosecuted. When we start to fight integrity, fight for integrity in government from the very door, the entrance, before people enter government, at least it's just like you have a checkpoint. You want to ensure that at the checkpoint, the search is very robust, such that when anybody passes the checkpoint, at least they are clear to go. They have working clearance, meaning they are harmless. They don't have any dangerous stuff on them that will harm the other people that have already crossed, and they are safe over there. And two, we'll be looking at the code of conduct to remove this thing about if you're in the executive and you want to contest in an election that is pending, scheduled election, you should resign 2 years before that election. I think it's unfair. When you're in the executive, you want to exercise your right to contest for public office, you should be allowed to do so, and you can only resign upon submission of your nomination to Elections Commission, and when it is already accepted by Elections Commission, then you can resign. I think that will make sense to all of us. And the third thing we want to be looking at is the Decent Work Bill, so that we can refine some of those things in there. Our people are not benefiting from the laws. The laws are on the book, but the enforcement aspect is problematic. And the labor law, like I see our people being treated with bad labor practices, like what happened at APM Terminal with our people there and across the country. We had to intervene with the APM Terminal issue, and the Senate took seize of that matter through our communication. And APM Terminal was held in contempt, like you all know from the media, and they were made to do community services at Tottenham High to provide new decks and chairs and paint the building to make it conducive for our students to learn. And the Labor Ministry should be reporting back to the Liberian Senate the outcome of its handling of the issue that has to do with bad labor practices at APM Terminal against our people. And it's across the country. Liberian workers are not being treated fairly when it comes to labor-related issues with most of the private companies. And we have to intervene. That's why we represent our people. And those are some of the things we'll be looking at. We'll be working. Our office will be open to all sectors. The Liberian Business Association and all Liberian-owned businesses. We want to work with them. We don't know everything in the office. We don't know some things at all. But with their input, their suggestions, we can work to make their case along with our colleagues. We'll be working along with civil society so that we can refine some of our laws and intervene in areas that we need to intervene. We'll work with the religious community as well. Our focus will also be on robust check and balance at the Liberian Senate in tandem with our colleagues. Our advocacy for social justice will not cease. In fact, will be even more improved and more robust in our advocacy for social justice. Our oversight responsibility should be felt. This 2021 that we are about to enter by the grace of God, at the Liberian Senate in particular, and the legislature in general, should not be business as usual where we cite public officials, we hide the interests of our people, we cite public officials for hearings, and they come and they lecture and they are discharged and there is no outcome. Our oversight responsibility and authority can only be felt when we hold these public hearings. Recommendations and findings and decisions from those public hearings should be implemented. If we are united, we are focused, we are courageous enough to hold the executive accountable to ensure that the president will look at the outcome of our hearings and the findings and decisions of our hearings to ensure that the president will make good sense of it for implementation. Then the purpose of holding public hearings will make sense. We've had more than 50 public hearings last year. Not much came out of any. And so we'll be looking at all of those stuff so that we can ensure that our people, our country can benefit. And lastly, before we take your questions, we want to encourage our colleagues, the Liberian Senate. In the name of God, let us be different. Positively different. Our country and our people are so excited that some of us, few of us re-elected, and most of us new have been elected. We cannot afford to make this country excited and happy for 1 week until the referendum goes through and our tenure in office is reduced. Our people have elected us for 9 years. We will be encouraging all of us to be senators for 9 years and every day. Not occasional senators, not seasonal senators. We must be senators for 9 years and every day. Meaning, we must do the work of the people every day for 9 years. If the referendum goes through and is reduced by 2 years, meaning we will be senators for 7 years. Long period. We can't afford for the excitement, the sacrifices, the prayers of our people, their energy, their aspirations to be dashed in few days if they see us return to business as usual. And so we'll be encouraging our colleagues. We are not going to play no hero role. We are not going to play no Mr. Perfect role. We're simply going to play our role as senator, encouraging our colleagues. We'll be open to our colleagues' ideas and their suggestions so that we can make collective effort to work and serve, to work for our people and serve their best interest. Once again, thank you. Season's greetings to all of our people, home and abroad. Special thank you from my heart to our supporters, home and abroad. God is good. And we pray with our imperfection as a human being, not to let down. It is no time to let down, even for a minute. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Senator. I'll begin the floor of questions. My name is Aaron, and I report for Fabric FM and TV. You began your statement by saying you will cooperate with the president. The perception of some people would mean that Senator Abraham Darius Dillon maybe is going to change, other than the senator that the public saw in the past 1 year in cooperating with the president. What type of cooperation are you talking about, for the sake of clarity?
I was clear. Constructive, positive cooperation. Anything that benefits the country and the people that comes out of the executive, we support it. We didn't go in there, and we have not been in there to disrupt the positive things. We went to support them. We went in there to disrupt the negative, the normal wrong, the normal negative. The place was dark. Too many things were clouded in secrecy. Shady deals. We had to go in there with the grace of God, praying for courage to stand up, to open the eyes of the country. Let the country know what we're doing in there. And if they are not happy about what we're doing in there, then we'll change it. But if the place remains dark and nobody knows what's going in there, then the normal thing will continue. And then nothing changes. The president of Liberia is president of Liberia. If the president's agenda, like it is, to build roads, and we have financing agreement to build roads, should we go against it? If the president and the executive can source funding to improve electricity across the country, should we go against it because we're opposition? No. We will cooperate with the president and the executive and even the judiciary for anything that is constructive, that is positive, that will benefit the country and the people, that will build a system, enhance the structures, the institutions of government. You think I'm going to cooperate with the president to keep Wabodigi at LSCC? No. You think I'm going to cooperate with the president when we can't account for a stimulus package? No. You think I'm going to cooperate with the president and the executive when Liberian citizens are dying mysteriously and no logical conclusion to any of those deaths? No. There are things that we will cooperate on. There are things we will continue to remain robust in standing up against because they won't help the country.
A follow-up to my question. Some people out there would like for you to have an but if the president seek an audience with you, want to meet you and have a chat, a discussion, will you avail yourself? Will you, avail yourself to meet the president in a meeting where you can discuss?
Why not? Look, I don't want to see the president because we need to take picture. I'm not looking for a picture. I'm looking for us to do the work of the country. If the president took his phone and called me for a meeting, official meeting at his office, of course, I will oblige. I'm a senator. The president, in keeping with Article 50, is head of government. I'm a senator in the government, under his administration. We will sit and talk, and I will be constructive in advancing ideas with the president. If the president, for instance, wanted to nominate a superintendent for Montserrat County, the courtesy to speak with caucus members, including those of us who even come from the opposition bloc, the courtesy to consult with us. That's what they call consultative government. The president should learn to do that. He's head of government, but there are three branches. When you grab anybody, for instance, and just throw them on the Liberian Senate and go home to Jamaica Resort and expect that we'll just confirm it because you are President Weah, you run into problem. You run into problem.
Okay, so a follow-up to the similar question. Now that you got elected as senator of Montserrat County, despite you are on the other side, hasn't been able to place your call, congratulating you on your for you being elected by the people here in Montserrat County.
The president never called me since I became senator from 2019 because everything in his head was, let's honor my Senator Dillon, let's make him meaningless, let's make him irrelevant so we can reclaim, because the only agenda President Weah and his CDC gang had against me was to reclaim that seat. So anything that will make me look relevant, impactful, they honor my everything. I didn't say anything like that in public. The president was not gracious in defeat. He didn't play a leadership role. And so we stood our ground. And of the 9 years I called, and I'm not asking for the call. He's the leader. He should be a leader. Whether he calls or not, whether we have one-on-one meeting or not, whether we have general meeting or not, I'm in the Liberian Senate to represent the people of Montserrat County in particular, and the people of Liberia in general. So whether we meet, whether he calls, if he says anything to the Liberian Senate that is in the best interest of the people, we will not go to kick against him because he ain't called. It is not about him, it's about the people. President Weah did he elect me? It's the people that elected me. So it's the people we want to serve.
All right, quick 2 questions. You were just talking about some of the reports.
You want to be audible?
Yeah, you were just talking about the reports. Now we talked about the stimulus package, and you guys at the time were demanding for a report on the stimulus package. We also talk about the issue of Wambutiki after you, the Senate, came up with evidences against him. The president still has him at the LCC. We also have the issue of Emmanuel Yenswa, who passed on. Of course, they've called for forensic investigation, and all of these have not been done. And we're talking about the justice system. Is people do not have trust in the justice system. What's going to be your stance as a senator comes 2021 in that? And second question is, by virtue of finding 2021, the CPP will have 14 lawmakers at the level of the Liberian Senate. So you're going to have 16 lawmakers opposing. Amongst these, you're going to have few who are also independent candidates, including the ruling establishment. How do you intend moving along with those 14 senators that you're going to have a conglomeration of them, one understanding and one mindset in order to convince other lawmakers to join you in pushing the agenda of the country forward?
You see, we have no excuse for the people if we don't do the work of the people. If the Liberian Senate does not change, if we are not different in a way that continues to keep the hope of the people, then our election collectively was in vain. We would dash the hope of the Liberian people if with the new number on our CPP, if we continue business as usual, then there is no need for us to be there or even remain there. We have the number. Let's not mistake. There will be times where institutional mandate must be followed by CPP lawmakers. If we're doing roll call, there are some votes we will take over there. People should be able, allowed to exercise their independence, their own judgment. But there are some decisions that when the institutions that send us in there see differently and ask us, give us reason why we should be persuasive in doing this way, I think we should respect our institutional decisions, especially when the institutional decisions are for the common good of the country. For instance, CPP went against the removal of Kabila Janneh. CPP lawmakers voted to remove Kabila Janneh. That was wrong. You make your institutions irrelevant when you do that. But there are other decisions that CPP lawmakers will do bipartisan approach with the ruling government. We can't be all stuck up. We got to be realistic. We got to be constructive and open. If something is to break the judiciary down, hide the economy, if there's a loan agreement like Eaton deal, which is bogus, and the institutions that we represent come up with logical, good reasoning why we should not vote for those, and if our not voting for such will be in the interest of the country, there is no excuse that CPP should make any longer with the number we have. If the president nominated somebody and it is generally concluded with good grounds that that nominee is not qualified, not only by academic paper, but personal conduct, behavior, other credentials, we should have the number now to vote as a bloc on critical national issues. Not everything. There are some things that are regular and normal. Individual lawmakers should be able to exercise their independence. There are other critical issues that institutionally we should prove that CPP is represented in the government at the Liberian Senate with the number. And if the current leadership of the Liberian Senate continues going to Jamaica Resort every morning before coming to work and give us instruction, we can't have the numbers and be whining. We can't have the numbers and be only reducing ourselves to holding press conferences in disagreement with a decision that was taken by plenary when we have the numbers. We should take advantage of our numbers to change the leadership of the Liberian Senate. Take hold of the leadership of the Liberian Senate so that when the president will go to work, if the leadership of the Senate, the leadership of the House will go to Jamaica Resort every morning for instruction, the president will stay home, he won't go to work. But if the new leadership comes from the house and goes straight to work, the president will go to work. Everybody will go to work. Then some changes will start to come. We want to use our normal constructively to start to build system, governance institution to make them vibrant, to give them teeth, to bite. We must not make mistakes. We are not the executive. There are expressed, dedicated authority, responsibilities, and duties assigned to the executive. We can't perform any of those. But we can intervene in such a way that can make the executive to perform those duties for the country and the people. We can only do it when we're united and strong with the numbers.
Okay. My name is Trevon, Senator. In 2018 and 2019, at the level of the Senate, the opposition struggled because you never had a number. Now that you have the number, and another thing is, Senator, as time when these people get elected, on the opposition ticket, they navigate to the ruling party and become ruling party senators. So having the numbers, holding these people together are two different things. Have you started placing calls to your colleagues? How do you intend, since you're so passionate about the kind of Senate you want to see, so that the opposition senators will meet together and you do not see people defecting from the opposition to the ruling party?
Well, yes, we are talking. All of the newly elected senators, we are talking. And permit me to divulge. We got a chat room. We are talking. We meet together before our induction, and we form a purpose. The CPP newly elected senators will meet with CPP leadership. So we have a clear direction, clear goal and purpose for the country, in keeping with CPP vision for the country, incorporating the constructive and positive agenda of the current administration led by President Weah. We can't guarantee, and I may fall in trouble with this, we can't guarantee that nobody from among us may flip. There is no such guarantee. We can only hope that we remain together, we encourage one another, we share ideas, we see somebody's input and suggestions and advice as something that we need to go by, and so that we can keep together. But there is no guarantee that nobody will flip. We are human beings. One thing I know, I will not.
Yes, sir, I'm concerned. My name is Darcy from Joyvan. I'm concerned about the reform you continue to push. You on record for asking, for pushing that when the president sends a nominee and it is confirmed, the decision of that confirmation should not be in dark, and you pushing for reform. The fact that you've obtained a second term, are you going to push further that upon confirmation, the decision thereof will be public?
Sure. The Liberian Senate has a standing rule, and the rule was done by senators. And senators in majority can change the rule. There is no rationale. When the president nominates you, it's public. And when we go vote to reject or confirm you, then we close the door. Why? Why we like too much closing door? Let's open the door. What are we hiding? If I have to reject Aaron Cuban, I should reject him publicly and state the reason. You just hear, oh, the Senate rejected that person, or the Senate confirmed this person. We don't give reason why the person was rejected or confirmed. So we leave speculation in the public. And when you close the door to confirmation hearing, you are breeding corruption. You are encouraging corruption. You are encouraging brown envelope in some instances. Let the process be open. The president nominates Obed Jiba as deputy minister. That nomination is public. And then we'll do public hearing for the public to see us grilling Obed Jiba. And time to take the vote, then we'll close the door. For what? Number two, we should start voting on the record. That is why, thankfully, in our first term, ending Senator Geraldine Doe Sherry's term, peace be to her ashes, the Liberia Senate approved our communication for us to audit the institution, and that under this new budget year, we update or restore the website of the Liberia Senate and put electronic gadgets in the place so that we can vote on the record. I want to vote on the record. I want my vote to be recorded. I want somebody to click one link on the internet, on the web, and go to know everything that Senator Dillon has done, what bill he's proposed, what interventions he made through his oversight authority in terms of communications, written to plenary, how many were accepted, how many were rejected, which public officials were cited, what's the outcome of those hearings, and how did they impact the society and the people. And so all of this stuff, I want tomorrow, when we vote on an agreement, on a concession, and it went bad, somebody can click on the record and say, this concession, Senator Dillon voted yes or no, or Senator SYZ voted yes or no. They yea and nay thing to put a country in foreign debt, yea and nay to put people in public office with confirmation hearing, yea and nay on almost everything. It's archaic. We need to stop it. Let money now the place and vote on the record. Yes or no or abstain. Let it be on the record. Normally when we vote, yea and nay, especially behind closed door on issues, and miss public approval, even the people who say no can claim that they voted yea. And if they miss public backlash, some of the people who voted yea can say, I'm part of it. But if it is on the record, anybody can click to know who all did made the bad decision that hurt the country and the people. Then those records can be used against you during your next election if you are contesting, or for history.
Senator, my name is Vesely. I work for Prime FM. Senator, I'm concerned with the educational sector. Last year, or earlier this year, during your last term, you pushed for the Ministry of Education to ensure that schools...
You want to be a bit audible?
Okay. You were concerned with the hike, the astronomical hike in school fees. And I remember through your instrumentality, the Senate invited authorities from the Ministry of Education to come to answer the reasons why schools were increasing their fees. And the Ministry of Education assured you that through their intervention or monitoring and evaluation, they would ensure that no school would hike their fees or would add a single cent for their tuition and fees for this academic year without an improvement in the system. Now, school has opened, according to the Ministry of Education, since December 1. A lot of schools have not really opened in actuality. Does that concern you with the low level of enrollment for our students? Secondly, there are reports that there are schools that have increased their fees, although the Ministry of Education assured the Liberia Senate that they will ensure that that is not the case. Do you intend to push forward with that? Because they have several concerns from parents and students.
Yeah, we are concerned. The fact that enrollment dropped, it says the economic condition in the country, that our people are economically stranded and they can't afford to send their children to school. No money in the banks, no money in the ATM machine, no money almost everywhere. It is troubling. We thank God for our intervention, and thanks to our colleagues in the Liberia Senate that saw a reason with our communication to intervene in what we call the unjustified hike in tuition and other related school fees. The Liberia Senate saw a reason with our communication, and the Ministry of Education came up with a decision to ensure that no school will increase school fees this academic year without justification. And if you know of any school that has increased the school fees by $1, with no quality added. They didn't build no fence, they didn't build no library, they didn't include or improve on laboratories, no computer learning for our children, no addition of quality teachers. Anything that should inform justification to increase school fees, if it is not done and you know of any school that increased the school fees, let us know. We'll take it up directly with the Ministry of Education because it is the decision of the Liberian Senate based on our communication and that was endorsed by plenary. And we commend the Ministry of Education for taking seize of this matter. But we are bothered, we are troubled that the enrollment of our students across the country have dropped. So it brings back the responsibility upon us as governors of the state, policy makers, to focus on improving the public schools. If we improve the public schools, the quality, pay the teachers well, and make the public schools free from primary to secondary, meaning from kindergarten to 12th grade, and make it free like it is in other places around the world, I believe that enrollment will improve and will increase because more children will go to school, come out of there with quality, but at least they will be getting free education from the government through their resources managed well. And that's what we're fighting for. It is troubling that the enrollment has dropped. And the enrollment has dropped not only because of the poor quality in the education sector, but because of the poor economic condition in the country. And the economic condition is poor in the country because of poor governance led by President Weah. They are only focusing on reclaimancy. They are only focusing on looking for haters. They only focus on looking for anybody who hit the ball or who elect the president, instead of focusing the energy constructively on how we can rebuild our society, revamp our economy, make our judiciary strong and independent and vibrant. Those things that will serve as inducement and incentive for investments to come so that the private sector can expand, for people to have jobs and money in their hands and their pockets. We're going to see more decline in the enrollment, and this is not improvement. And nobody, whether in opposition or not, should take pride in this to say NEC will tell you no. It is troubling that more children or students are out of school because of poor economic situation in the country. We're going to see about it. And this is one thing that we all must focus on.
Okay, so Senator, I'm Lawal Gume from Prime FM. I listened to you when you said you are open up to the president to work with him and other members of the three branches of government as well as the private sector, the business sector. I did not hear you talk about other people who have thought of being senators in Montserrat, those who contested against you. Would you mind using them as reservoir, maybe a reservoir knowledge to draw from time to time as you move on? And the second question is, what's your impression so far about the rest of the money you're giving to the county for your salary? And you said you will still continue to push. Currently, you are the only lawmaker doing this. Do you feel impressed about the progress so far or the work they're doing with the rest of the salary?
Yeah, but we can do more and better. I'm going to continue to take the $5,000 monthly on my monthly allowance and salary monthly. And this was on CDC, some of my friends on CDC always don't listen, they can only hear. My monthly salary and benefits, monthly, I'm going to continue to take $5,000. I believe $5,000 or even a little less, if anybody else can make a suggestion that we all will agree to as a body, I'm prepared to do that. I believe that $5,000 or less is okay for us at that level, so that we put all the other money in the country and the people, in the sectors that will benefit the people. I will continue to take that $5,000 and continue to make the case for us to set our salary at $5,000 or less. If the majority think otherwise, let's still set our salary by law so we can fulfill the instruction of Article 36 of the Constitution and say we will fix our salary by law. We should not, nobody should be guessing how we're making. Let's fix it by law. If the one we're making currently is what everybody contend with, let's fix it by law. And let's feel good that our people are not happy with what we're making, but yet still we say we're representing them, but we're disrespecting them by making or taking what we're taking against their will, against their instruction and their mandate. I think the public generally is okay with us taking 5,000 or less. It has been tested, and so we'll continue with that. I am careful about it. I did a project, I did another project. We want to reach to the time where the country and the people will appreciate the development of the country from the resources through the system, through the structures of government, not through our humanitarian gesture. We can take government money, legalize it in the budget, put money in our pocket, and then give some back and then act like humanitarian. I'm sick and tired of that. It has carried us nowhere. Every lawmaker, including myself, you ask, is about I done this, I done that. When is it going to be about we did this as government? We, even government money that we approve, we buy transformer to improve electricity and increase the supply to our people, and I send to president project. Everything is about in the country. We approve the money for LDC to buy transformer and take it to increase supply of electricity in various communities. It has turned to a presidential project. So you got to be in good both with the president and a candidate or people who are laughing with him before they get you transformer. It's not supposed to be like that. LDC institutionally is supposed to just carry transformer in the various communities where LDC can reach. That's how system should work. I has carried this country nowhere. And what were your first concern?
Asking about the
Those who contested.
How do you intend to work with them? Because there are some of them.
How do we intend to work with them? Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. We intend to work with our colleagues. This got to be collective effort. We will not agree on everything.
No.
In legislative politics.
I think you're talking about those who contested no field.
Oh, those who contested.
That
oh, you mean like DJ Blue and
Thomas Fala?
Thomas Fala.
Yeah.
Thomas Fala. I'm open to work with him. He's already a lawmaker. He's chairman of Moserado Legislative Caucus. He has called a very friendly call, mutual respect for one another, to concede defeat and to congratulate us. And I reminded him it's time to call the first caucus meeting of the county. Because I can understand why we didn't have no caucus meeting for 1 year, because everything was geared towards removing Dillon from his office and reclaiming the seat. So now that this removing Dillon is not going to come until after 7 or 9 years, it's time for us to now, that temporary insanity that was hovering over all these things and happening, let it be removed now, so that we can regain sanity to work together with our people. On Cool FM 91.9 last week or so, I was in studio with Sheikh Kuyate and Bernard Benson, alias DJ Blue, and I asked them to serve as advisor in my office. They have ideas that we must incorporate. DJ Blue has a very fine idea on tourism. And tourism is a very attractive and lucrative industry that when we can reform, focus on, put together, set in motion, we can generate good revenue for the country. And DJ Blue has very beautiful ideas on how we can work the tourism sector. Sheikh Kuyate has very good ideas on reconciliation. I will be working with them. I will be looking to them for their advice and their input. And in fact, I told them, that if they want me to duplicate the keys to my office, to give their copies, so they feel comfortable that they are indeed part of the office, sure, we're prepared to do so. That office is for the people. And anybody who has ideas, suggestions, even critique, where we misled as human beings, even critique, we will embrace for corrective measures.
Okay. Good day, Senator. My name is Abu Sharif. And talking about reform and looking at everything and holding all factors constant, your message for the reduction of your salary and taking home $5,000 resonated very well, demonstrated in the numbers in your re-election. So I'm concerned about how much you are concerned about decentralizing this advocacy to make sure that so much of our national resources that goes to recurrent expenditure is redirected to a project-based budget. How do you intend to work with your colleagues to make sure that we have this court going all across? Because the Liberian people through your election or your re-election have demonstrated that they are worried about how public officials are taking so much of the national cake. So I'm concerned about decentralization of that initiative to take it across where it won't be a Senator Darius Dillon thing, rather the executive, the judiciary,
correct,
and the legislature in general.
Correct.
That's one. Two, considering the whole issue of governance to be like a football match, you have the first half, and generally the impression from the first half doesn't seem too encouraging. So going forward, what will be your new strategy, especially where with the impeachment saga that hover over the judiciary sector of our country that have tarnished the reputation to some extent? How are you going to work with your colleagues to make sure that there is an amend to the processes that led to the impeachment of Associate Justice Cabinet Janet? And what will you do to regain the sanity and integrity of the Liberian government, especially the judiciary sector, working collaboratively, constructively with the executive as well?
The question too long and when I can lose the meat. You won't go back over, just give me the meat.
Okay, the meat is the 5,000. How do you intend to take it across? Make it general to affect the entire government. One. Two, the judiciary. Cabinet and the ECOWAS Code have indicated that the processes leading to his impeachment weren't done lawfully. How do you intend to make amend to that? And, working with your colleague for the government of Liberia to do the best thing.
Thank you. During the campaign period, most of the people who were contesting, when they were asked, what you say about Darius Dillon bill, they say good. That means we should work together to pass it. Let's pass something within the neighborhood if they don't agree exactly with the 5,000. But let's do something so that the money can go back to the country. Look, let me repeat this thing. If only 103 lawmakers of us, all of us, took home 5,000, we save the country $4 million. We'll put it back through the system. If we are returning $4 million every year from the cut we made, and we can stand our ground to say this money should go back to the health sector. This year we target the health sector. This other year we target the education sector. Say, or 2 million goes so, 1 million goes so. Let's follow the money through the system, the financial system of the country. But then we have the courage and the number to hold executive officials accountable because they are supposed to be implementing the budget. We are only providing oversight. We don't build roads. That is why no community in Montserrat County can call me back individually, Senator Dillon, to say, come fulfill your campaign promise. We promise to build a road or clinic because we educated our people that we have function as lawmakers. If you ask me to build your road, then there will be no need for the Ministry of Public Works. When we put money in the budget for the Ministry of Public Works to build roads, and if the Ministry of Public Works did not build the road, and the money cannot be accounted for, you want number of lawmakers in the majority to hold that public official accountable and insist that the president should remove them and prosecute them. And possible restitution. When that happens, the person who will replace that Minister of Public Works will see what happened to the predecessor and not do it. Now, when we put money in the budget for road, the new Public Works minister will implement the budget. We put money in the budget for health, and it is not implemented, and we have the number with courage and principle to hold that official or those officials accountable and insist that the president should act. And the president acted because we insist that the president should do so. Anybody that replacing those people will conform, will act in line. Then the people will start to benefit from their country resources through the budget and through the system. Now, but if we will legalize what comes in our pocket more than what goes to the country and the people through the structures, through the system, then the way you will hear, I did this and I did that, and that's not what I'm in our Liberian Senate for. So our colleagues will look in that direction. The Liberian people across the country have given approbation to our bill of 5,000. We will take it up again because in committee room appropriately where it should be, and upon our return is one of the issues we're going to pick up first, so that we can fix our salary into law, so that people know what we're making, and they cut from there, we'll put it through the system and hold public officials accountable for not implementing what we enacted.
The Cabinet General impeachment.
The Cabinet General issue. I'm looking forward to President Weah. I'm looking forward to President Weah exercising humble leadership. Humble leadership meaning call Cabinet General and let's settle this matter. There is no way that this issue will go to bed. The Cabinet General that I know will not let the issue rest, not because he wanted money. He want to set the record straight that he was impeached in a kangaroo hearing and that it should never ever happen to another person. And as long as some of us in the Senate will ensure that Cabinet General gets justice, he's entitled to the justice and the relief granted him by the ECOWAS Court. It is unto him to say, I understand the situation in the country, and in the interest of the country and the scarce resources, I waive this or I waive that. But we shouldn't think that will be all law on the Cabinet General issue. We pay Cabinet General his due benefit in keeping with the ruling of the ECOWAS Court. So again, we can do it to another person. President Weah should call Cabinet General and reconcile with him and speak with him on how his administration seeks to remedy this thing and settle it. That would be humble good leadership. If you're arrogant and you say you're not doing it, the country will suffer. You see, few men led by Thomas Fowler and Akawas Gray, sponsored by President Weah, aided and abetted by lawmakers in the Senate and the House of Representatives, did this to Cabinet General. The entire country can be defeated. Thomas Fowler and Akawas Gray won't pay Cabinet General from their pocket. George Weah ain't get no 18 million from which he can withdraw to get Cabinet General money. It will have to pay Cabinet General. It will be from the country's money. The ordinary people, taxes that they pay, will be the one that will use to pay Cabinet General. On the actual reckless conduct of few corrupt people, and it can go sitting and lying down, who will ensure that Cabinet General justice is served, so that it serves as deterrent that we will not do it again to another person.
Yes, Senator, I'm Arthur Wheeler from Big FM, and you instituted a program about this rehabilitation center.
Correct.
And I wanted to maybe talk about it briefly because the public want to know how far that project is now. And another thing is the restitution. You talk about restitution. And we know in past government there were many others that tampered with government money, they squandered government money. And then the government came to work and established this ARE. And then we've seen that ARE is being dormant. What is your rule, or what will you do as a senator elect now or elected for 9 years in making sure that government money be repaid back to government coffers?
A robust Senate can change this country, and we look forward to that. Being robust does not mean you should be unreasonable. Being robust does not mean you can be constructive. A robust Senate that exercises good oversight can change the country, can change the judiciary, because we'll promulgate laws that can reform the judiciary, enhance its capability, improve the quality of judgments coming out of there, so that judges don't be afraid that when I rule upon what the law says, powerful politicians will get vexed and move from here. A Liberian Senate that is robust with the right character, the right number of persons in there, can change this country. Because the president of Liberia, whoever the president is, will come to work and will do the work of the people, because there is a Senate to check. The president will not throw anybody in there for confirmation and the person just passes. The president will not find any financing agreement and throw it there, and the Liberian Senate will concur. If you have a strong Senate, the House of Representatives will conform. Because anything the House does, if the Senate does not conform and we concur with it, it doesn't go through.
The rehabilitation center, we are about 90% completion. We are at 90% completion. We were slowed because the campaign activities took no focus, but thankfully the Liberian people believe in what we were doing. They have renewed our mandate. That means everything we started that was stalled as a result of campaign, and sometimes our hand becoming short because of COVID-19. Our good friends home and abroad who were helping, the economy bad, COVID-19 wrecked the economy of the world. Those things that were stalled or slow, we're going to pick them up. Rehabilitating underprivileged wayward citizens is a passion. All these structures we're building, we'll break them down one day if their minds are not developed. All these structures we're building, the capacity to build more structures will soon erase from this country, be wiped away with the growing number of quote-unquote Zogo, because Zogos don't have capacity. They don't have the ability to think, and they are not aware of the consequences of their action. If you build 10 skyscrapers and you have 100 Zogos, they can build those, they can break them down. If you have one skyscraper and you have 10 productive citizens, they can enhance the growth and improvement of that skyscraper. So why don't we focus also on youth empowerment, job creation, and development of the minds and the human development capacity of our country by fighting to abort and avoid the national security threat that is hovering over Liberia by the growing number of people in the Zogo community. That population is growing. Every home, every community, every street corner, all counties, all townships, all cities have growing number of Zogos. And they're only growing in number because we are not doing anything as a country, as a government, to slow their growth in number. And the more they grow in number, the pending danger it is for the country, because if you have 3 persons with capacity and you have 10 with no capacity, it's a danger for the growth of the country. And so that facility will be completed. I can put a time frame now. Will be completed by March this year. We got goodwill gesture from our friends of Dela in the diaspora, silent donor back home here in Liberia. God is intervening. That place will be ready by March. We have training center. We have 2 chapels, one for Christians to do their religious Christian stuff, worship, and one a mosque, so that people from the Islamic faith can worship in keeping with their Islamic rituals.
We have training center, skills training center. So when we detox the drugs out of you, we can give you skills. And we believe that God will intervene and will put in those things in place so that when you come out of there with skills in carpentry, you can't just come outside with the skills. We can be able to give you tools. We give you the carpentry tools so that you can be able to use your skills to be constructive and productive. You be able to make honorable living and you can be able to contribute to the society. If you did tie and dine, we give you the tool and the equipment, necessary materials, so that when you come outside, you can start something on your own. And we'll continue to follow them. If we manage to open carpentry shop, say 10% graduated from in carpentry vocation, we'll put it in our carpentry shop, we'll open an account for each of them. If you did one chair, and if it costs $10, we'll make sure you put your money in the bank, and we deduct $2 and put it in another account so that we can be able to build something that will buy more equipment and materials for people as they come in, because it will be a revolving thing. When we rehabilitate you, you are productive. When you're leaving, we'll bring you in order, we'll bring in a new set of people. And when you go and you are picking up in life, you should be able to make contribution to the other people that are coming in. So it's a revolving thing. And it will not be a Dallas Dillon thing. We have incorporated it. It is not Dallas Dillon, or is that center for Dallas Dillon. It is the Center for Rehabilitation. It's for the people of Montserrat County in particular, and the people of this country. Zogos, quote unquote, will not only be taking up the streets from Monrovia. Some people will come from other parts of the country. And if God blesses our hand, we're hoping that we can extend this. But we want to share the light in this direction so that we as a government can see the need to do a national thing about this. It should be a national focus and not a Dallas Dillon thing.
Okay, so before my colleague coming quickly, I'm quite sure that you have also seen this concern from the public. Now that you've been given this overwhelming mandate from the Liberian people here in Montserrat County, and there's concern coming with the CPP that apparently maybe perhaps you could harbor the intention to either run as vice running mate or either a presidential candidate in 2023 election. Do you subscribe to that view?
That I didn't want CPP to survive. I wanted to be senator. I asked God to touch the hearts of the people to make me senator. They made me senator. Let me be senator. You don't leave me here. Let me be senator. Whatever God has for us for the future will play itself. My mind, my focus is to be senator, serve the people. CPP, we have a framework. We have our time frame to go select our ticket. By December 2021, CPP should have a standard bearer and vice standard bearer. Some people don't like to hear it. I'm not too sure when I'm ready. You know, just because you're popular under your window, 3 people know you now, then you qualify to be president. That's our job, we are in the marshal. You don't put me there like that. To be president of Liberia is not a small thing. And you see, there are many ways to demonstrate love for something. If you love something too much and people want you to take it, and you know taking it will hate the thing or the people, don't take it. President Weah did not demonstrate love for this country and the people, knowing he was the presidency. The people love him and he didn't show them love in return by saying, as much as you love me, I want to be president. I don't want to be riding around, keep my clothes, be celebrated. That's all. But the people say he's popular, he got a country at heart. Only God knows why in people's heart. And that's why God said, by their fruit you shall know. 2023 is a critical movement in our country history. We shouldn't joke with it. God gave us this election, and I believe infusing new blood in the Liberian Senate for a purpose. You see how the country happened? The country peaceful? Because the people believe that they at least have gotten what they want, their desire, their decision, their choices. And their choices cannot be senators for 1 week. We can't afford to be senators for 1 week. We can't afford to put all our people in the street, hide their excitement, raise their expectation, and then be senators for 1 week, and then go back to business as usual. We can't afford to do it. What God did for our country through our people was to save the democracy of our country. This election was not about me, especially in Montserrat County. It was not about Nyombi Kanga Lawrence in Grand Bassa County. It was not about those who won. It was about democracy versus dictatorship. It was about freedom versus suppression. It was about restoration of hope versus being in perpetual hopelessness. And when God intervenes like that, then you allow God to take control entirely. So you order your steps, our steps. We allow His wisdom to impact our decisions for the country and the people. So President Bennett, I know when we say anything, you can be keeping a recording. You say, oh, the man said the other way. No. Vice President, let me be clear. I listen to wisdom from Omer Bwaga, Joseph Bwaga. He said, when you vice president, you are a racing car or you park. I hear Joel Taylor crying for speech at the time of Obama said. Whole day the vice president can be crying, the day respecting her, the honor money her. Vice President Joseph Bwaga said he was a race car park. Joel jumped there. She didn't hear that Omer advice, jumped there. She cried for the speed of that. We want to be impactful in the Liberian Senate. Where I want to grow is in the Liberian Senate through the leadership. With a growing number of CPP members coming to take over the Liberian Senate, I don't see why we can take the Liberian Senate leadership.
Does it mean you are in the pro tem?
Not necessarily the pro tem position, the leadership position over there.
Okay, Senator Dillon, my name is James.
If we do anything about pro tem, let me put myself on record. I will fight for Nyombi Kanga Lawrence to be pro tem.
Okay, thank you. My name is James Gude Flomo. I report for Spoon FM TV. Senator, thank you. You outlined so many things that you have in mind to do. But let's go back to the election that brought you to the Liberian Senate again. What were some of those challenges and what were some of the lessons learned during the election? And there's this saying that Senator Dillon is the first Liberian who publicly brought this system of campaigning where the people themselves donated their money to you to say, we want you to go to the Senate. And in developing worlds, that is in the developing world rather, we saw people who got money from citizens, and after the election, a couple of weeks after or months, they came back with report how they used the money. So let's go back to Senator Dillon, who brought that to Liberia. When do we hope to see report for you? That is when we expect the report to come out. When are you going to make a significant report to say this is how I use the money that was collected to run my re-election campaign?
Don't make it too long for I forget.
Okay, yeah, that is it. When you're going to come out with a report, how you use the people money that was collected and donated to you. Okay, let's go. In 90 days, your first 90 days, what are you going to prioritize?
Thank you. We will report to our people. There is no other way around it. We got to report to our people what money we raised, and how we utilize the money. We want to thank God for our people. You know, CDC through President Weah, before he became president, benefited from the goodwill of the people. When they were putting their own t-shirts, they would donate their cash, believing that when he got there, he would change the story. I'm the first Liberian politician who has been in office. And because of our scorecard in office, the people believe to support. Hugely. It has not happened. And when that kind of thing happens, you don't let down. Transparency, accountability is a hallmark of my DNA. It's the standard we set for public office. And so we got to lead by example. And that is why on the general thank you occasion that we are planning. We'll go back from community to community. It's going to take us a bit of time to do so. But we'll do a general thank you. We are planning that very soon. We did not do so within the course of this week because we thought it would have been insensitive to do thank you and be joyous when there's issues in my Bakuru County where the female independent candidate was harassed, violated, and was meted acts of violence. We thought it would have been insensitive to do so. Also, we thought we wanted to ride together, so we wanted to ensure that the controversy in Nima County with Ide Gonkro where is logically concluded, and we understand that Fubi Harris has issues. He's asking for recount through CPP. All of those electoral issues to clear up, and then we'll do a general thank you for our people home and abroad. And during that period, we'll do report to our people on what we receive. There are some silent donors who didn't want to be publicly known. We include the amounts without calling the names and all of that stuff. We have record of all of those. We want to be as transparent and open to our people as much as we can in our human talk. And what was your first concern? Your question can be too long.
90 days.
90 days.
First 90 days, I laid out my $5,000 bill, looking at the code of conduct to make some reforms, looking at the diesel wage bill, the act, and also looking at the labor law, where all these bad labor practices have been meted out against our people. We want to look at some of these things so that we can put them before the Liberia Senate for consideration. Before I put anything on the floor, I will make sufficient consultation with my colleagues to make sure that it makes sense to them. And so that, like my communications last year, my 10 communications are consulted. And that is why the Liberia Senate, in majority, voted for all of my communications, and we cited public officials. And that is why APM Terminal felt the punishment of the Liberian Senate. And that's why the Ministry of Education has come over for policy that there will be no increment in school fees this year unless it is justified, and all of those stuff. So our bills for reform, we will consult before we put them on the floor so that we can have a collective teamwork.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And in closing, I want to say again, season's greetings. As much as we know that times are tough, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. No money in the bank, no money in the ATM machine. We don't know where the money is, but we'll try to find them.
Meaning there will be no Christmas party for the kids.
We will try to do Christmas party for our children in the community. It's short a time for me to do across Monserrado County. I hope our people will understand, but the children in the immediate surrounding will try to do something for them. Few of my friends sent some packages, some clothing. By Monday or Tuesday, I will start to distribute them with our disadvantaged, wayward soldiers, and I got a few items for children so that we can make their Christmas merry. But we might not be too merry for Christmas because right after Christmas and New Year, that's school fees.
So Senator Palame, who will you miss among the SDT senators?
I will miss Oscar Cooper and Samuel Johnson.
Thank you.
I will miss Oscar Cooper and Samuel Johnson. You see, God took us to the Liberia Senate to increase the energy of some senators that were already fighting. Oscar Cooper was one. Yomdi Kanga Lawrence won. Samuel Johnson. Samuel Johnson's defeat hurts me because even though he was under the Coalition for Democratic Change under MPP, but he was more with CPP and the people of Liberia than the Coalition of Democratic Change. That he did not win pains me. The same with Oscar Cooper. He advised me a lot. He gave direction. He embraced me as a colleague. And he said, you the new blood, you the new guy, you the young man, you follow any year, you the everyday guy. Me at all, I can't do it every day, but the fact that you can fight for us together, you encouraging us to even stand up more. I will miss Oscar Cooper. All the other ones, A good at Harry Yara was flocked. A good at George Campbell was flocked.
Why?
It's good that
Victor Watson.
They were all,
Why are you happy?
They were part of the Spanish group.
Dan Mariah, that's right.
Dan Mariah didn't know what he was doing.
Who's the vacation senator?
Okay, so see what I mean? Vacation senator not knowing how we're right now.
All right, thank you.